All right, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Data engineering is the backbone of any data centric organization. Your data engineering ability is directly linked to the success and the outcomes of the organization that you work for via your ability to store, process, and analyze data quickly and efficiently. The demand for data engineering positions is forecast to increase by 21% by 2028. Here are some current Outlook stats. The starting base pay for data engineers is an exciting $110,000, while the median is around $158,000. Glassdoor forecasts 284,000 new data engineering jobs within the next 10 years. In the last 10 years, data engineering salaries have increased by 10%. So now is definitely the time to make the jump into data engineering. Into the meat of the roadmap. At the beginning of the roadmap, we have SQL and Python. These are two key languages that you will need as a data engineer. SQL is prominent throughout the organization. You'll see it in small companies, large companies. In addition, Python is very versatile, as well as being able to create websites, do front ends. You could also do data engineering. You could use it in almost any system. You could use it in Databricks, in AWS. You could write Python scripts, put them in Docker containers, put them into Elastic services, run things through automated jobs that way. Python is an exciting and fairly easy language to learn. In addition, SQL and Python are on 75% of current open job positions. The next stop on our roadmap is database systems. Pick a database. Oracle, Postgres, Microsoft SQL Server. It really doesn't matter. Start practicing and learning how to write SQL statements, how to move data around, how to transform data, how to change data. If you learn one, you'll be able to use the other ones. It's going to be a skill that you're able to transform from one system to the other. There are some intricacies between database systems that will change. Overall, from one system to another, it's pretty similar. Once you pick a SQL database to work with, pick a NoSQL database to work with. Cassandra's great. MongoDB. Pick one of those, get into it, practice. It is considerably different. NoSQL is considerably different than SQL, so get in there, practice it. Not as important as SQL. You're not going to use it as much as a data engineer, but it will come up. Continuing down the path of data mastery on your roadmap to success here is going to be data warehousing. Within data warehousing, pick a tool. You've got Snowflake, Google BigQuery, AWS Redshift. Pick one of those tools and learn it. Get comfortable with it. Snowflake is amazing. Redshift is awesome. Google BigQuery is something that you could get in and play with for free right now. Pick one of those tools, get comfortable with it, learn it, and then move on to the methodology of data warehousing and data modeling. We're talking about Snowflake schema, star schema. Go out and research. Go out and look up Ralph Kimball. He is the father of modern data warehousing and data modeling, and you'll find wealth of knowledge. There's some great books out there. I'll put some links to them down below. Moving right along on our roadmap to success. Our next stop is ETL. So with ETL, pick a tool, any tool. There are a lot of them out there. You've got Boomi, you've got Azure Data Factory, you've got Informatica, you've got Airflow, you've got AWS Glue. There are a ton of ETL tools out there. Some of the more popular ones are going to be your AWS Glue, your Informatica, your Azure Data Factory, or Azure Synapse. But pick one, get familiar with it. Generally, once you learn one, you can transfer those skills to the other one. They each have their strengths. For example, Boomi does an awesome job of integrating with APIs. Azure Data Factory does a great job of making things very visual, giving you the option to go into the XML and edit your pipelines that way. In my opinion, Informatica recently has a new cloud, the Informatica Intelligent Cloud Services, a great tool, and it's very comparable to ADF. in feel and how things work. Not quite there with the API integration yet, but there's definitely some additional tools in there that you can use to integrate with APIs. If you missed our discussion on APIs, you'll find that in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. Go out, check that out. You don't have to master all of them. Pick one, get comfortable with it, which leads me to my next point, which is to be a quick learner and adaptable. There are so many tools. The tech industry moves very quickly and evolves very quickly. There are new tools all the time. Your organization may change tools on you at a moment's notice, and being able to adapt and move quickly and learn quickly is a game changer in your skill set and how you sell yourself to your interviewers. Being a quick learner and being adaptable leads me to cloud platforms. 74.5% of current open job positions have a requirement of Azure on it. So if I were you, I'd go out and learn Azure. Azure is a great cloud platform, very widely used. AWS comes in a close second. With Azure, you could go out, get a free account for 12 months. There's a ton of services that you get for free. So you could go in, play around, don't have to worry about any cost. Don't even have to put in a credit card yet. Also, for the first 90 days, you'll also get a $300 credit. Link down below. Great tool. Lots of fun. Use Synapse. Don't create a separate ADF resource because Synapse has both the pipeline as well as your data warehousing tools in it. So everything's kind of all in one place. So it's a little bit easier to get moving. A little bit more expensive, but you'll have that $300 to play with for the first 90 days. Azure is a great way to get in and ramp up quickly. Go out, play with it, find an API to connect to. I do have a walkthrough on how to connect to an API using Synapse. You'll find the link to that video down below. Also love AWS, especially for the Elastic services. AWS, as you get comfortable with Azure, you might skip over to AWS and start playing with it some. One more word about Azure. It does have a resource called Fabric. Fabric is a great tool for large corporations that want everything all in one place. There are some operational efficiencies that you gain because you have your Power BI, your pipelines, your orchestration, your data warehouse, all in one place. The downside is like the minimum is like $5,000 a month. Generally accessible to you and I? Probably not, unless you have $5,000 a month to start spending. But you could get all of those resources separately. You just lose some of the operational efficiency that you'd gain. And you don't need that for your learning. You're going to have to utilize data storage. So in Azure, you have your ADLS, which is Azure Data Lake. And then in AWS, you have your S3 containers, which are pretty much the same. Be sure that you get familiar with that. You'll use it a ton as a data engineer. Speaking of data storage, that brings me to my next point, which is data modeling and architecture. As far as architecture goes, understanding the Medallion architecture. If you don't know what the Medallion architecture is, link down below. Medallion architecture is a concept where you pull in the raw data, you store it in a bronze status, and then from there, you do your transformations and move it into a silver status that's used for your analytics. And then from there, you do some maybe monthly processing that gets it into a final gold status that gets used for things like finance and board reports. It helps to maintain stability and efficiency. Once you've learned an architecture that you want to use, then move into data modeling. We did cover data modeling about a week or two ago. Be sure that you've checked that out, where we talk about star schema, Snowflake schema, which are two of the most popular schemas out there as far as doing your data modeling. Once you have data in a data warehouse, the next thing that you need to be aware of is data governance. Data governance is all about the security and privacy of your data. We have the CCPA, which is the California Consumer Privacy Act. In addition, for international You do also have the GDPR, which definitely is more stringent and has a larger umbrella over more areas than the CCPA. So again, important that you know where your customer information is in your company and that your company is implementing best practices for security and compliance. All right, last stop on our path to data greatness is going to be don't neglect your soft skills. Your ability to communicate and be personable with people is huge. It's going to be a differentiator when you are in interviews. It's going to be a differentiator when you go for promotions or go move into leadership. When we talk about soft skills, we're talking about communication, problem solving, and your teamwork. Having good examples of how you've been able to problem solve within a team is huge when you're in an interview. Having those examples prepared and ready and top of mind when you walk into an interview are super important and will be a differentiator in whether you get the position or not. And going along with your soft skills is always be learning. Technology evolves fast. We've talked about that throughout the roadmap. So it's important that you're able to adapt and learn quickly when new tools come out that you have to start using. You don't know when your company's going to come to you and be like, hey, we're changing cloud platforms, or hey, we're moving from using Boomi to using AWS Glue. So do not lose your thirst for knowledge. All of the data careers are super exciting, whether you're going into analytics, whether you're going into data engineering, whether you're going into data architecture. In some cases, when you work for a smaller business or a smaller corporation, you may wear all three of those hats. Don't be surprised if you work for a smaller company that you are having to juggle all three of those hats. That's a wrap for our Data Engineering Roadmap 2024 edition. You should now have a clear path from where you're at to data greatness. For some interview do's and don'ts, click here. To continue your data engineering journey, click here. And to subscribe, click right here. I'll see you next week.